opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
We must take America back. Main Street to Wall Street, cities and states, Washington, D.C. Before it's too late, there's not long. We need leaders who lead us, not stick us and bleed us, then ransom our future and our children's. That's wrong. We must take America back.
That's right, America. We're going to take America back today with your host, Ken Crow of the TPC Daily Brief.
Hello, Tea Party community. Hello, Tea Party community. I don't know if my mic's on or not. I guess it is. Welcome. It's Friday, and it's a great Friday, and we're happy to have you with us today. We have saved, I hear the rescue squad went in. We have Tamara Scott back with us today. They went into the unfriendly confines behind the demilitarized zone over at University of Iowa in Iowa City, and they rescued her. And she's back, and she's
now wrestling with her microphone.
She's having a throwdown with her microphone.
Can handle the liberals yesterday.
WWE doesn't have anything on her. Anyway, welcome back, Tamara. It's good to have you rescued from the enemy confines over there.
You know what? We hear how liberal the left side or the east side of the state is, and it's true. We've got Loebsack and Braley over there, so we've obviously got some issues to deal with. But when you find the folks over there who get the Constitution and understand it, not only are they strong in what they believe, but they can explain it, which is just a beautiful thing to see. They're proud of it. These are people who have to stand firm every day against surroundings. Imagine University of Iowa. And this is my concern and my frustration with conservatives/Republicans. Why do they continually fund educational institutions that we know are hostile to the Constitution, teach against free trade, against capitalism, against our Christian heritage? Everything that made this country great is demoralized, diminished, and just defeated in the education institutions around the country. So why do Republicans continue to fund it and run on it? It just frustrates me to no end. So anyway, that's where we were yesterday, and it was a great event, a lot of fun. Sharon Day from the RNC, the co-chair Sharon Day, was there. She did an excellent job. And if you have any doubts where the Republican Party is headed, Sharon Day doesn't. She's not wanting to walk away from the platform one bit. She's proud of the platform the way it is. And when you bring up folks like Karl Rove and Ken Millman, who was in this state in Iowa a couple weeks back. I heard
about that visit.
I Twittered right away that he must not be so proud of his position, pun intended, because he didn't invite the Republican National Committee woman, me, to come to his meeting and discuss why he thinks we should adopt same-sex marriage in the Republican platform. Here's the deal. It's as simple as this. If you have no moral value whatsoever, if you think you're going to continue to copy your opposition, you'll never lead.
That's right.
You don't have to break down everything you believe in. Republicans need to quit running on the hot-button issue of the last election and learn how to stand strong on those same principles, cornerstones, that got us where we are in the very beginning.
Oh, you preach it.
Well, and here's the frustration to me. We saw that as far as the white male, the Republican had the vote, but that's a diminishing group. And I was just talking with your wife about all the political correct garbage that's out there. Go back to our founding fathers. I would guarantee you, before this country was America, that we had as many language barriers, cultural differences, and ethnic backgrounds as we do today. I would guess we probably have more back then. People probably didn't have English as a second language. There were no ESA programs. And yet, those men who put their lifeblood on the line, who signed the Declaration, were able to share that dream, speak truth in a way that transcended all those backgrounds, all those language barriers, and help people understand what we needed in our Constitution. And if we can do it with all those differences, we can do it today if Republicans and conservatives will stop the hogwash, the copycat politics, and stand strong on the same Christian Judeo foundation that our founding fathers set us upon.
Oh, I'm motivated. I'm motivated, Tamara. This girl, we are so glad to have her on the TPC Daily Brief, and this is why we have her, and we're very fortunate. I got one funny thing I want to show real quick in a moment, and then we're going to get to serious business. We're going to talk about the sequester today for a few minutes, and then I believe Tamara has a very interesting topic that's going to probably be near and dear to everyone's heart. But if we got the photograph of our, yes, we're going to talk about, now if you don't recognize this beautiful person, this would be Dennis Rodman. That's right, the very same Dennis Rodman that played for the Detroit Pistons, the Chicago Bulls, and the very same Dennis Rodman that is now in the record books is in the top one or two rebounders in NBA history. The reason we wanted to show our illustrious Dennis Rodman has been in North Korea all week. Now, if you can believe this fellow went to North Korea, and that's
the poor Koreans.
While it's, yeah, really the poor Koreans. I wonder if he wore that outfit while he was over there.
I would almost guarantee no.
So anyway, our little buddy Kim Jong-un, I believe is the new one, the son of the Kim Jong-il that was the... Anyway, this country is dirt poor. These people are starving to death. They have been starving to death for the last 40-odd, 50-odd years.
And they will continue until they change their government.
Sure, and they keep messing with nuclear weapons, and this guy goes over, and it's not bad enough that he went. While that's bad, this is the part that struck me. He actually stood up in North Korea, and he actually said these words, America. So the next time you're watching Dennis Rodman, you may want to remember this. He said that Kim Jong-un is one of the greatest leaders in the world today. And he admires him, and his parting words were, "We are now friends for life." So you may want to think about that the next time you think about rooting for Dennis Rodman.
Well, and this is exactly the point. In America, we set everybody up on this rock star stage, whether they deserve it or not. We make goddesses and gods out of people. And I don't care if they're war heroes or what they are. They should be acknowledged for the gifts and the service that they've given to our country. But our founding fathers were so clear that absolute power corrupts absolutely, and that you have to remember people are only human, which is why we have the checks and balances. It's why we have 3 branches of government, and it's why we, the people, the consent of the governed, that's what's so key. And that's what I was trying to relay in my friends in Johnson County yesterday in Iowa City, is that you have to remember it's you, the people, who yield the power. And so Rodman, I never gave him a glimpse on the court. To me, he was a distraction from the beauty of the sport.
Was it his nose rings or his lip ring or
his behavior in general?
His orange hair?
His self...
yes.
Just always drawing attention. To me, that's a man in pain. When I look at him, he's a man in pain. And so I don't want to ridicule him. I don't want to beat him up. It's tragic that in America we set people up so high and then all they can do is fall. When you put them up on that much of a pedestal, all they can do is fall from your glory.
That's probably true. Tell you what, we want to get to these topics. Here's our phone number today. And I'm getting a message over here in the control room that they're having a problem with the sound. Okay,
it's the first day I could hear it.
Yeah. I'm getting a message on my, okay. 855-244-0077 is the phone number, 855-244-0077. And this is the TPC Daily Brief, and we are powered by Webcast One Live. And we're looking forward to hearing from you today, America. And let's go to commercial, and we're going to come back with Tamara discussing an interesting topic that most of you are going to want to hear.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I'm administrative manager
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
We must take America back. Main Street to Wall Street, cities and states, Washington, D.C. Before it's too late, there's not long. We need leaders who lead us, not stick us and bleed us, then ransom our future and our children's. That's wrong. We must take America back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the new TPC Daily Brief with your host, Ken Crow.
And welcome back, Tea Party community. We're glad to have you. First thing we want to do is say thank you to Steve Voss for that wonderful music. I just love that song. You need to check his website out, Steve Voss, VAUS.com. He has great music, and he's one of our beloved patriots. So with that said, we're going to throw this over to Tamara, and I believe she's got a guest that she'd like to, and we're going to get right into it.
Thanks, Ken. Judah Myers. I first heard her story a couple years back, and I'm not even sure how I came along to meet Judah, but I worked with her for probably 4 years now on radio interviews, and I think we interviewed her on the local cable television show that we did. Judah is an amazing story in herself. Judah, are you on the line?
I am. Thank you, Tamara. I appreciate being on.
I'm trying to decide if I'll attempt your background and your story as to where you are, if I should just let you do it. But imagine finding out, you're adopted and trying to find your birth mother and having a worker, a social worker, look at you very angry and tell you, you are the product of rape, okay? And Judah, correct me if I'm not saying it correctly. If that wasn't...
You're correct. You're correct.
If that wasn't enough to set Judah back and something for her to deal with, Judah continued on in the search for her mother. And Judah, I want to get to the Arkansas bill, but go ahead and take our listeners who may not know you, go ahead and take them through this. And first, let me tell them, if you're hearing this, if you're watching on teapartycommunity.com, email a couple friends and tell them how to find teapartycommunity.com and watch the daily brief so that they too can hear this information. And Ken's already said, how's this fit into the party platform, the Tea Party platform, or the planks? It's not even for me a moral issue anymore. It's not even for me because of my Christianity. If you go back to the Constitution, the Declaration, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the 14th Amendment, equal protection, we shouldn't have to be dealing with this issue. We shouldn't be arguing this issue. It should just be that simply clear for everyone. But Judah, take it from the point where you found your mother and the story.
Well, when I found my mother, I had hoped that what I had been told was incorrect. So after speaking with her for about an hour, she was in a wheelchair. I was on the floor on my knees talking with her. And I said, would you mind telling me the circumstances of my conception? And it was worse than I could have ever imagined. And she said she was walking home late one night from a movie, and 8 men beat her up, raped her, and left her for dead. And, man, that really just about destroyed me, because I couldn't imagine my mother having to go through that for me. But she patted me on the shoulder and she said, honey, stop your crying. I've forgiven those men, and look what God has done. He's brought you back to me. God is faithful. So with a mother that had so much love, but was forced to place me for adoption because her own mother didn't believe her. And this is what my battle is today, is to make people aware that mothers of the rape conceived love us. We are loved. I was placed for adoption. My mother loved me enough to do that, and my adoptive parents wouldn't have traded me for anything. And so we have misplaced compassion, people thinking that it's the best thing for a woman to abort a baby. But the people that I've talked to, and I've talked to hundreds, literally hundreds of women who have given birth, and they do not regret giving birth. But the ones who have aborted feel like they were attacked, they were allowed to live, and then they aborted their baby. They killed an innocent child. So this is what they are telling me. They murdered their own baby, and the rapist let them go free. So they feel like they're worse than even the rapist. And so we're not doing anybody any favors. So my mission in life, I've started Choices for Life, and that's choices with the number 4, life.org, in the hopes that, one, I can restore the honor and dignity back to the women and children of rape conception, because we've been called demon seed and just everything you can possibly imagine. But it's not true. We're normal people. You have probably met several of us, because we're all over the place. Many are hiding in shame that doesn't belong to us.
We brought Judah to Iowa in January, showed her our wonderfully cold Iowa weather. You missed all the snow. I mean, we've had snow every day for the last week, but we brought Judah here, and Judah, you're right. Everywhere we told people you were coming, or anyone who heard your story said, oh, I have someone in my church like that. Oh, I have someone at work like that. You met a senator who told you on his campaign he met someone who was a product of rape, totally changed his idea. And I just said product, forgive me, because I know that makes you something less than you are. I should say who was conceived in rape. But
Thank you.
Yes,
I was doing that.
You know, and
I was calling myself a product. We're not products.
We're not. You're not a product, and we're all trying to learn the language and be sensitive and not hurt anyone's feelings. And that's where we come to this whole pro-life issue right now. We've got the pro-life community itself arguing amongst itself as to basically the best way to get to ending abortion and killing of the unborn Americans. And in fact, Concerned Women for America, the organization that I'm also involved with, is actually going to the UN. We have several people at the top level in Washington, D.C. are active in the UN and in non-government associations and organizations. And they'll be giving a presentation called It's a Girl, the 3 most dangerous words in parts of the world. It's a Girl, right away that means that baby will most likely be aborted. If it's allowed to be birthed, it will most likely be killed. We've seen photos of the baby in the buckets in China because no reason other than they were a girl. And so, Judah, Arkansas, I'm excited about this. You don't like it. And so our hope is that we can explain to people, you and I disagree how to get there, but we're both heading the same direction. The Arkansas legislature passed a bill that would, it's called, I think they're calling it a heartbeat bill. But this is not a heartbeat bill. This is a 20-week abortion ban.
Yeah, it's after 20.
So what that does is it slows down, and you know why we had one of those brought up here in Iowa, because Leroy Carhart, the late-term abortion expert, was trying to set up shop here in Council Bluffs, Iowa. And so that city council was wanting covering from the state that he could not come in an unorganized or outside the city limits and set up shop. And you understood that. You agreed that in that case, that would have been beneficial for Iowa to have that law.
Sure, because it would have stopped him. And that was a deliberate stop the man. It really wouldn't have stopped abortions on the whole, but it would have stopped one man, yes.
And so even in Arkansas, they're saying that this will stop not a lot of abortions, but 48 out of every 4,000 or 4,800. My pleasure is that it stops any abortions. But you, being conceived in rape, take great offense to this bill, and I can totally understand that.
Well, absolutely, because let's say that I said everybody can live except homosexuals.
Oh, you had to dive right into it, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Or what if we just let everybody live but blacks? Or let's let everybody live except people with
blue eyes. Go with blue eyes.
Blue eyes. It's absolutely absurd to be able to say something like that. It makes no logical sense. And the worst hate crime is completely being ignored. I talk to many, many women who say they were insulted, they were called whores, they were said that their children were demon seeds, they shouldn't be allowed to be in the gene pool. But my challenge to people who are thinking this way is remember that we have had more war rape over the entire planet that have created children. And to say that your blood is not tainted from possibly a rape conception from centuries before is simply arrogant.
And if we go to your website, Choices for Life, do you still have on there the poster of the numbers of people who were conceived in rape?
Yes, you'll be able to see all kinds of people.
Give us the actor's wife. Whose wife was that was conceived in rape?
Charlie, not Charlie, but, oh my gosh.
Is it Baldwin? Sheen?
No,
Sheen?
Martin Sheen.
His wife was conceived in rape. Who on Fox News was conceived in rape?
Kelly Wright. I mean, just because people are famous, that shouldn't be the dictate on whether you live or die.
No, but I wanted to put those faces in front of our viewers.
We have doctors, lawyers, chemists, professors, school teachers, every kind of person represented in our society can be represented with the rape conceived. And it's not our fault that we were conceived that way any more than, Tamara, that you chose how to be conceived. Nobody does that.
Well, and you also have a photo on your website that has the fetus of a rape-conceived child, or the baby, the in utero of a rape-conceived child. And it also then has the ultrasound photo of a baby that was conceived in love. And you challenge folks. Tell me which one. Show me which one.
Wow.
There is no difference.
In the House of Representatives in Austin, Texas, I stood there with the two large sonogram pictures, and I said, tell me which one is so hideous that the mother shouldn't be allowed to see. And they wouldn't even look at me, but they proceeded to pass the sonogram bill, and everybody cheered, and my peers went to their grave.
And of course, I like the bill in Arkansas because, like I said, anything that makes abortion less likely, anything that causes people to think twice. Right now, what I've been telling folks is we wonder why our kids are so violent. We wonder about the school shootings. We wonder about the lack of respect for life, period. And Yet it shouldn't surprise us because we say it's okay to abort a baby simply because it's unwanted or because it's not the right sex or for whatever reason, inconvenient, or it's going to interfere with my school. To me, that's a very thin wall of acceptable murder and unacceptable murder, and it's so thin it's simply the uterine wall. And so I like this bill, Judah, because it comes back past the date of birth. It comes into the baby in utero. And if we can start seeing it less as that fetus, less as that blob of cells that they like to make us think it is, which you point out wonderfully, it is not. It's not a parasite. If it were a parasite, it could survive off the liver. It's a baby. It has to be in the uterus with nutrition and growing care only as God can design, a perfect creator can design. So I like this bill because it forces people to understand inside the womb there's nothing magical, nothing changes. That baby's intact. The organs are there. They may not be mature. The DNA is there, but it may not be mature. But it's there intact, a human being in the uterus.
My only problem with the incremental things is that you say, not you particularly, but people say, okay, so you can't kill a baby after 20 weeks, but go for it before 20 weeks. Or you can't kill it. You give them stipulations. Jump through this hoop, and then you can go ahead and kill the baby. We're okay with it. And in North Dakota and Alabama, I just cheer them because they have said, no exceptions, we are abolishing abortion in our state. And I just applaud those people who have stood up against those who want to regulate it, and they've ended it. And so I would just challenge everyone who wants to truly end abortion to follow their lead. I love Representative Shaw and Schultz because they are attempting to end abortion the same way. All or nothing. And that's in Iowa.
You're right. And the other thing I want to come back to the rape conceived is, and you talk about it, and I call it unjustified mercy. We want so much to be compassionate to the victim of a rape. I can't think of anything more horrible and to think that now there might be a baby present. But here's a simple fact. You can't have this mercy all about the first victim and create or cause a death of the second victim in that rape. The baby is a life too. And more than punishing the child for the sins of the father, let's go back to the rape itself. Let's start actually coming down harshly on the side of rape. And Judy, the other thing I want to talk about, when you have these rape exceptions, for me, as the mother of young men, you put every young college man on campus at risk. And I always challenge men in an audience to live their life in a way that they don't have to worry about a baby being aborted that they are responsible for. But to every young man on a campus, if the only way a girl can get an abortion is an exception of rape or incest, they're going to start crying rape when there was no rape. It's going to make it more difficult for prosecuting attorneys to get a conviction. It's going to take away those possible chances of getting a conviction for the victim. It's going to make it more difficult in those cases. So I don't like the exceptions for rape and incest either. We're running out of time. Judah, closing comments for our viewers and our listeners?
Anyone listening who has a rape conception story, we are doing our very first ever Exceptional People Convention. And we would love for you to find a safe environment where you can find camaraderie, common stories with other people, and realize that you are no different than any other human being. You might think you're alone, but you're not. So go to choices4life.org.
Judah Meyer, M-Y-E-R-S, Judah Myers. Thank you for joining us, Judah.
Thanks so much, Tamara. I love you.
Love you too. I'm so glad that I got to meet Judah, and I hope that you'll go to her website, take time to learn her story, click on, do a search on the bill in Arkansas. Again, Judah doesn't like it, and I can totally understand her concerns with it. She doesn't like the incremental gain. I understand their argument there too, but I think incremental has helped. If we look at the left, they've incrementally gained rights on several different issues, whether it's same-sex marriage or what it is. And I think pro-life people need to remember that, recognize it. It is those abortion ultrasound bills, the 24 waiting periods, the fetal pain bills, the 24 the parental notification. All those have helped get us to where we are now, and that's the majority of Americans saying, I am pro-life, and I think it's morally wrong for abortion.
40 years. 40 years they spent getting here. Okay, let's go to a break real quick, and when we come back, we're going to do sequester. Feel like talking sequester? We're going to talk sequester. Call in 855-244-0077, and we're going to talk sequester.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Our buddy Todd Starnes, for those of you on the site that know Todd, if you don't know Todd, friend Todd. Todd would love to be friends with you. Todd likes friends. He's also quite comical. If you haven't had a chance, you need to click on most pages on Tea Party Community website. Will have a book, and it says Todd Starnes at the top. Right underneath it says Dispatches from Bitter America. The book has funny stuff, painful stuff, good stuff, and Sarah Palin loves it. Most of your conservative leaders love it. I love it. The book is a good book. You can click on that. It'll take you straight to the site where you can order the book. So if you get a chance, we're trying to send this book to #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. That'll do two things. Number one, it'll make Todd really happy with us. Second thing it'll do is really hack off the New York Times that a Tea Party person and a conservative has a #1 selling book on their list. So jump over and buy Todd's book today. And I believe our friend Jan Morgan is giving away that AR-15. I don't know if she's giving it away yet or not. Do you know?
I don't know that they were going to have it to give away yet. I think we're going to do the drawing sometime between the 1st and the 5th of March.
Okay.
Because she's going to personally deliver that.
Really?
That's what she said on her website. We talked to her about it on Wednesday, and she said yes, she would. We were hoping.
Cool.
We were hoping that somebody from Iowa would win so that she would come to our site.
She's actually already got on her site another giveaway. She's giving away a Glock this time.
Really?
Yeah. So that's what it said today.
I need to check her site. Are you going to register for the Glock, Tamara?
Is she giving away a Glock now?
That is what it said on her site. So as far as I know, that's the... Now it's
I don't
a
think
Glock.
anybody should register for that, folks. It sounds like a gimmick. Don't register.
Glocks
Just,
are junk.
I will.
Yeah, Glocks are junk.
Register.
Nobody wants those.
I'll see if it's a gimmick.
I tell you what, I'll register just to see if it's a legitimate deal, and all you guys don't register. That'll work. Okay, so I guess JanMorganMedia.com is giving away a Glock now. That's cool. Maybe she'll deliver that one too, you think? Anyway, what do you think about sequesters today, Tamara? What's your thoughts about sequestering? That seems to be the word of the day.
I told you I wanted to have a guest on if we were going to talk about this.
Well, the boss says talk about it. So
Sequester, Sylvester, I don't think it really matters. I'm not convinced any of it. You know, we've talked to Drew Klein from Americans for Prosperity. You've had him on yesterday in my absence.
Yes.
We have yet to actually believe if it's going to make a difference. If my concern is it will be this government's excuse and opportunity to destroy this many more vital services that we do need. We talked about it. They won't take out the excess airlines folks. They won't take out the janitors or the excess middle administration luggage that they could remove. They'll take out the radar control folks, the navigation folks. They're already. In fact, if you go to Tom McCluskey, McClusky, from Family Research Council, he's been twittering all of his excuses of things that are going to be blamed on the sequester that have nothing to do with the sequester. And it's really kind of funny. You really need to join that. But I think, do we have a couple callers? Is that what I'm seeing?
We do. Well,
we
have a John in Dallas. Let's see what Brother John's doing.
Talked about yesterday, and I think
Hello,
it's so
John.
great.
You have to start over. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's so great to have Tamara on this because I think she has a lot to input on welfare versus private charity. A big thing you can do with private charity is be more selective. I think some of our problems with health care and welfare are spiritual problems. And that if people want assistance, they should be receiving assistance with their mind and their bodies.
John, thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it very much. And I don't take my time.
You have like homosexuals with AIDS. They deserve that. They were ungodly.
Well, I'm not going to get into the judgment of it, but here's the deal. The beauty, you're absolutely right that charity needs to come from the Christian. God called the Christian and the church to care for the hungry, the needy, the poor, but he didn't call the government. God ordained government. And if you go clearly, it's in his word. Here's government's tasks. It's two things. You can go to First Peter, I think it is, and you can go to Romans 13. Here's the government's job. Punish the wicked, uphold the good. Period. That's all the government's supposed to do is make it possible for good to succeed and make it impossible or an obstacle for the immoral or bad to succeed. Why? Because we see issues, we see concern, we see harm. We've talked about it earlier today. We tend to be punishing those in the investment world and those in the business world who are doing well. If you've earned income, if you've earned a savings, they want to punish you and take that top 2%. And yet we have almost 47% of Americans paying nothing. Everybody needs to pay a little bit. You can pay a little bit or you have no interest in it. But coming back to the charity and church, John is on to something, and it may be because I said it the other day, and let me just finish on it. God calls the church to a certain work, and when the church negates that, the church loses its blessings. When we as private citizens and Christians are not caring for that hungry, caring for the needy, caring for the poor, we lose the opportunity for God to bless us or correct us. If we don't give to our neighbor when they're in need, there may be a consequence that we may pay. If we do, there's a blessing for it. But if you lend that to government, we lose that opportunity for the people to be blessed. And I went through this with Huckabee. He called me from his plane one night. He was very tired. He knew I disagreed with him, and I'll give him credit for calling me and having the discussion. And I think he's come around on this, to be honest with you. But even when he wanted to give health care to illegal immigrant children, as noble as that sounds, then he needs to set up a private foundation so that can be done with accountability. Because, John, I don't know if you were serious or just trying to set me up or not, but here's the deal. Look what happens when government gets involved. You've got fraud. You've got inefficiency. The money that you send, for every dollar you send to Washington, I think you may get 30 to 50 cents of it back. There was a poll, I think you were talking about the poll,
Yeah.
50% of Americans believe, or I don't know what the percentage of Americans,
It was
but they
like
believe
80% believe that we waste 50 cents on the dollar.
And we can see that. And so that inefficiency is there, that fraud is there. If you go to a church setting, a little church setting, you know in your congregation what widow needs help, what family's going through a tough time needs help, who's sick, having surgery needs help. By the time the government figures it out and all the forms are filled out, that person is either beyond help, dead. It has to come from the community and the private sector.
I want to lend some credence to what you said because John Adams, believe it or not, yes, the second president actually addressed this back in, I believe it's 1787. He said, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. So our Constitution was designed for a moral, ethically, and religiously sound civilization. And you can see what's happening to it now that we're having issues with all of that.
Right.
We're
Because
disintegrating.
If you have your faith, if you have the teachings, our founding fathers knew that whatever made people better Christians made them better citizens. And so even though we're not going to try and tell you that everyone who signed the Constitution was a Christian, or anyone who signed the Declaration, they were all Christians, although we believe a great number of them were and had a Judeo-Christian faith. And oddly enough, even those who may have not been strong Christians still probably knew more biblical teaching than many people who profess to be a Christian today. But they stood on it because they knew what made you a better Christian made you a better citizen. Considering others better than yourself, thinking about your neighbor, treating others as you'd rather treat yourself. And Robert Winthrop, I believe it was, Secretary of the House, a contemporary of the Founding Fathers, made this comment, that you'll either be ruled by the Bible or the bayonet. Meaning, I'll either be ruled by something inside me, a guiding factor, a conscience, controlling my will, or I'll be ruled by the punishment externally.
Right.
And so to that I would add, your Christian beliefs, the limited government you're talking about, the moral and righteous people, will only exist if you have a self-governing people, a moral people who will not still be. See, that Christian aspect causes me, I can't have hatred in my heart, so therefore I won't murder. The law only punishes the crime once I've murdered. But that Christianity causes me to reflect, to evaluate, and to ask for forgiveness, knowing I can't hate my brother in my heart. I can't steal. I can't covet. I can't be jealous. I can't be envious. Therefore, I can't steal. Stealing, only the law can take care of the punishment after I've stolen and the damage has been done. Lives have been ruined.
I see where you're going with that. We have Lindsay in, I believe, New York. Lindsay, are you still with us?
Hi. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about your first caller. I just wanted to first clarify. So you believe that America was formed on Judeo-Christian ethics, right?
If you go back to a lot of our writings of our early founding fathers, a lot of it came from common English law, and a lot of that came from biblical teachings, yes.
Okay. So why would you force me as a Jewish person to go against my religion and not allow me to terminate a pregnancy if I wanted to, if I was impregnated as a result of rape?
And again, as we said, it doesn't even come back to the Christianity or the religious teaching for me. It goes back to the Constitution, and you have to decide if you want to live in America or not under the Constitution, and the Declaration, which gives you the protection of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that life is life in the womb.
I don't see that.
Why would you be so self-centered to want to kill a baby because it's inconvenient?
It's not that it's inconvenient, and if you really need to know, I'm a child of rape, and I wish I were not born.
Now I want to talk to you. Linda, what is so horrible about your life that you don't want to... Lindsay, forgive me. I can't see the screen in front of me.
Do you think that it's a good thing to force somebody to live with knowing that their father put his penis inside her mother?
Lindsay,
think this
you're not responsible for the man who brought you into this world. But you know what? The God who is a loving God, who says in his word, and if you're Jewish and you read the Old Testament, he says that he can make good out of what somebody else has meant for bad. It says that in the Old Testament. I believe the Jewish people believe in the Old Testament. And so if you allow God, if you'll allow him to work in your heart, he can make good out of what somebody else means for evil. And Lindsay, you could be that good. If you would turn it over to the Lord, if you would allow him to work in your heart, if you would maybe even ask for forgiveness of some of the bitterness you have and some of the anger, and I would highly recommend you call Judah Myers and talk to her. She's been through the pain that you have been. I haven't. I can't tell you I understand what you're dealing with, and I don't pretend to, but I can tell you that God doesn't create anything that's a mistake. He doesn't create rubbish, and he doesn't do anything without a plan. And so I beg you, Lindsay, call Judah Meyer. We've got her phone number here. We'll gladly give it to you. You can get on choicesforlife.org and check her out yourself. But this is bigger than a political view and trying to make people make mistakes or say something, a gotcha question on air. Lindsay, this is your life. This is my life. And this is the good that God could do for you, with you, and give you a purpose that is far greater than what some man may have done in an anger, a moment of violence. Don't hold yourself. Don't limit yourself back to that man. See what good you can do and overcome anything, any bad feeling, any guilt. It's not yours. Don't take it. Don't take it. Stand on your own and make good today from this day forward all the opportunities you have.
Wow, this is an intense subject for a lot of people.
It sure is. And you asked the other day, how can this be a Tea Party subject? Because even if it's not on the Tea Party mission statement, we have got to get to the heart of the issues. We've got to get to where people are dealing with the pain. You heard Lindsay's voice and the anger and the pain she's dealing with, and I can't imagine it. I don't pretend to know what she's dealing with.
Well,
but you got to help people. Before you can get Lindsay to understand a political point of view, you've got to bring her through some of this.
Well, you've got a lot of opinions on this topic, but it's the TPC.
Let me clarify. My opinion doesn't matter.
No,
what Tamara
there's
Scott
a lot
thinks.
out there.
Okay. Because what I think doesn't matter. We've got to get to the truth of the Word of God.
Well, okay. I'm not. I guess maybe I'm a little bit more political. I do believe in God. I am a Christian. And I know that the Tea Party communities, one of their primary missions on the mission statement is restoring America. And restoring America does encompass these topics. But they're tough topics.
They are tough
There's
topics.
no question about it. When you're dealing with homosexuality. But do we want to go back to a time back in the 1800s or the early 1900s where if somebody found out you were gay, they killed you? And we don't want to return to that.
But here's the deal: let's quit. We're here. We are talking about the pregnancy caused by rape. We need to get past that and go back to the rape. We need to make it in a culture, in a community where men are not taught or under the impression that they can behave in that way, or that a woman is something less than a human being and is an object. The entertainment industry is partly to blame. Did anybody watch the Oscars? I personally tried not to, but my husband flipped it on. He flipped it on. We were flipping the channels to see what was, and we came right onto the Oscars just in time to see the host sing the song, and I will not say it on air. We've seen your talking to women about their body parts. And the whole song was dedicated to seeing women's body parts. Now, excuse me. We wonder why our kids are dealing with the issues they are. A whole song dedicated in the Oscars to all the actresses who have been foolish enough to bare their front on media. And that's what this was dedicated. This is where Hollywood's gone. I'm sorry, but Follywood is a better term, and they don't deserve our dollar or our time. And this is what I'm saying. You can't expect people to be treated in a healthy way and have this type of behavior celebrated as good, and then wonder why a young man behaves the way he does when he's told in school, do whatever you want, you deserve a break today, it's all about you, situational ethics. So you got to come back to some of this to understand why politically we're off base.
I think you also got to take a look at the fact that we are, as a society, we're funding this sort of activity in Hollywood because, let's face it, if nobody bought a ticket, there wouldn't be any movies, and we wouldn't be having to watch this. Is that any different than Obama subsidizing people for not working, subsidizing people for not trying to find work?
Here's the difference.
Subsidizing, go ahead.
Well, in Hollywood, I don't have to go to a theater. I can't think of the last time I went to a theater. I don't have to give him my dollar. I don't have that choice with Obama. He's taking my dollars, or I'm going to pay the prison fee. I'm going to be penalized, or I'm going to pay a fee.
Well, and that's absolutely correct. And by the way, the magic number today, ladies and gentlemen, is $85 billion. $85 billion today. That's the magic number, and it's known as sequester.
Here are some of the comments on sequester. Eric Holder's using his luxury jets while federal workers get furloughed because Dems don't think we have a spending problem. Tom McCluskey, here's one of his. Things to blame the sequester on. Number one, White House. Sequester reason for late budget this time. That's why they'll be late on their budget. On this day in 1913, the federal income tax took effect, the 16th Amendment. So the sequester isn't the first DC-made disaster that happened today.
Yeah, well, it's happened. So here we go, America. We are going to crumble. The sky is falling. We're going to have planes falling out of the sky. And I think I mentioned it to you the other day, Tamara, that Obama's speech, the last one that I saw of him the other day, he was standing in front of all of our first responders, and he was trying to sell America on the fact that we cannot allow this sequester to happen. And he told us that we were going to lose our firefighters, we were going to lose our police officers, we were going to lose our school teachers, we were going to lose 800,000 military personnel, we were going to lose, what else was it? Our air traffic controllers. Anyway, all of society was going to crumble because of this 2%. And the thing is, Tamara, it's not even a 2% cut in what we're spending. It's a 2% reduction in the rate of growth, of which he wants to use as an excuse to further raise taxes.
So some of those cuts that they're calling cuts are projects that weren't even started yet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The one I liked was the banquet room in Washington, D.C. by the Capitol or something the other day that they've been playing. Then there was a bridge someplace and some more things anyway. And they're calling those cuts when in reality they're not actual cuts.
And I think, did you mention that they probably won't be able to protect our border?
Yes,
That
we
would
were
be
told
new,
that the
wouldn't it?
hordes were going to invade us now.
More so than every other day?
I guess so.
I mean, when was the last time they really, truly protected our border in full scale?
I couldn't tell you. I know I've got a dear friend down there that's I haven't seen him now in about 2 years, but we were pretty close friends for a number of years, and he works down on the border in Arizona. And I want to say he's a sergeant, I believe, in the immigration department down there in the Border Protection Service. And he came over to my house one night, was eating dinner with my wife and I asked him what it was like down there and what was going on. And his response was, there are more prayer rugs in the deserts in Arizona now than there are cactus.
How unfortunate is that?
That's
do we need
scary.
to go to a third break, or are we okay?
I believe
we're all right?
we do. We're going to a
Dan
break
says
now?
we're okay.
Okay.
So you brought up the prayer rugs in the desert, which reminds me, and this is on your friend, JanMorganMedia.com.
Ooh.
Texas high school students, Texas. I am not trying to pick on Texas. I like Texas too. But Texas high school students have filed a federal lawsuit against the school and the teachers after she was punished for refusing to salute and recite the Mexican Pledge of Allegiance. The Thomas More Law Center filed the lawsuit on behalf of Brenda Brinson, alleging that McAllen Independent School District violated the 15-year-old girl's constitutional rights when she was forced to recite the Mexican Pledge and sing the Mexican national anthem. Now, this is not Newdow and his regular fight against the American Pledge. This is an American student being forced to recite a Mexican pledge and a Mexican national anthem. Brinson, who was the daughter of a Mexican immigrant and an American father, refused. She believed it was un-American to pledge a loyalty oath to another country. I wish
In an
our
American
elected officials
school.
could understand what this 15-year-old daughter of an immigrant understands.
That is incredible. I'm
Ironically,
speechless. I don't know what.
I think I've had you speechless twice today, Ken.
Yeah.
Ironically, the school district has a policy that prohibits school from compelling students to recite the American pledge, but apparently not the Mexican pledge. And I laugh, and it's not funny. It's just not funny.
And this is what our friend, by the way, this is what our friend Tom Trento gets into heavily right after the TPC Daily Brief. You're going to be able to watch Tom Trento out of South Florida, right here on the Tea Party Community Network, I guess you could call us now. But Tom gets into a lot of this, and he gets into Sharia law and the infiltration of Sharia law. How long do you think it's going to be, Tamara, before our children aren't just reciting the Mexican Pledge of Allegiance, but the Iranian or the Pakistani Pledge of Allegiance.
I can't remember the name of the book.
Because it's this infiltration is happening.
I think it's Crescent Moon Rising is the name of the book. I'm not sure, but he predicts, I think, 2050 that we'll be under Sharia law. And Concerned Women for America, I've brought that group up a couple of times because I am the state director and I know what they're up to. But in Iowa, we've given talks all around the state on Sharia law. It is creeping into America. It's coming through the family courts in divorce cases. It's coming through the DHS in trying to be so diverse. You know, our first caller, the earlier caller that was trying to, I think, nail me on her Jewish freedom. Here's the deal. You're in America, and the Constitution is the Constitution, and that First Amendment is to allow us to honor our God as we wish, but we don't have the right to circumvent the Constitution or the inalienable rights that our Creator gave us. And life would be one of those, but also the Christian Judeo Foundation that is evident in our Constitution, whether you see the word God or not. The teachings are biblical, and many of them come from the teachings of the Bible. The setting up of our government, I think it's Isaiah 33:22 that talks about the different branches. I am the lawgiver, the king, and now I'm not even going to remember the judge. And so that's what gave us our three branches of government. It's permeated throughout it. If you go through our preambles, 50 state preambles, look them up. They all have God or the supreme being in our preambles for our states. So we can dance around it, we can allege, we can accuse, but it's all through there. And if our public schools were doing anything decent today to be teaching the truth of our history like Israel does, if you go to Israel, their students come to the Holocaust Museum, to Masjido, and they understand the history, the battles, the wars that have been upon them. And it's high time that we as Americans start demanding that's taught in our schools as well. So here we are on a Friday, and off you're all going to go for the weekend. Go to the theaters if you want. I won't give them my money. I won't give them my dollars. We talked about it why on this show. But dig into something worth reading. Find a website, janmorganmedia.com, teapartycommunity.com, Tom Trento. Find something that's informative and educational, and give yourself the gift of knowledge that you're not going to get on most other news sites and, unfortunately, educational institutions. And let's go back and restore this country.
Amen, sister. And we do have, here in just a couple of minutes, Mr. Tom Trento's coming up. Stay tuned. He's always got an exciting show, and you're going to learn a lot. Tom is a good man, and he knows a lot. And I believe that's going to be about it for us today, isn't it? And we'll see you soon. Stay tuned to the TPC.